Hello, I'm Dr. John Johnson, the Director of the Centers for Diversity and Inclusion. My pronouns are he, him, and his. The Centers for Diversity and Inclusion, affectionately known as CDI, includes the Pride Center, the Women's Resource Center, and the Multicultural Center. As a grad student in my doctoral program, I did a lot of research focused on the experiences of underrepresented students at predominantly white institutions. A focus of my research was on ethnic student organizations, or specifically Black student unions. Because that work, or the work with student organizations, often overlaps with student affairs, I became engaged more with student affairs and in fact actually had a graduate fellowship with the Dean of Students office one of the years that I was there. Through my research, in fact, I did one study that was across multiple campuses in the University of California system. I engaged with a number of student affairs professionals and really came to get familiar with the work that was being done. By the time I was finishing up my degree, I had an affection for and an interest in the kind of work that was being done on that side of the aisle, so to speak. So my first job, while I was still finishing my dissertation, was running a program focused on support for underrepresented students at the University of California, Merced. Well, my degrees include a bachelor's degree in psychology, along with a minor in women's studies in my undergraduate years. I also have a master's degree in educational psychology because I had planned for a career in the professoriate. I was planning to be a professor or an academic, and I knew I needed to find programs that would help me learn how to understand students and how to teach. After I finished my educational psychology degree, I went and I have a PhD in social psychology. And I tell people all the time that I use my degree, or my degrees rather, every day. I find that understanding human behavior, understanding identity development, understanding group processes, having an awareness of leadership, all of those different kinds of things that are part of our discipline make a big difference in the way that I'm able to build relationships with other people, understand their motivations and their concerns, and to really effectively do my work. And my work always is involving other people, particularly students, and making sure that they feel confident, successful, and can achieve their goals. So, if we're being totally honest, right? Mm-hmm. So, I went to a grade school that was largely white and middle class. Mm-hmm. And I grew up in a community that was almost exclusively Black and working class. So over the course of my elementary and secondary education, I had experiences where I felt like I was not included, I felt like my history wasn't represented, and I didn't feel validated through the curriculum or through the content. And I also saw the absence of that kind of representation influenced the way that I was treated by my peers. So I bring that up only to say that when I entered into my undergraduate institution, I was interested in pursuing a degree in psychology, but I knew that traditional psychology had a largely Eurocentric and androcentric framework, meaning it was focused on the contributions and the experiences of white folks, and also focused primarily on the experiences or the concerns of men. And I knew that I needed to supplement that education with other courses. So one of the first courses I took in the pursuit of my psychology degree was a Psych of Women course. And then I continued to take other courses focused on sociology, focused on ethnic studies, finding the overlaps between psychology and filling in those gaps that may have been present in the discipline. There's this classic text by Guthrie that's called "Even the Rat Was White," in terms of making references to the early research studies that we see in psychology. And psychology has come a really long way since not only the time I started in undergrad, which was honestly in the early 90s, to today. And in fact, when I was on the faculty side, I taught a course in Black psychology. And that course was recently offered here at Sac State. So the discipline is growing, it's evolving and becoming more inclusive. And those kinds of courses, I think, are really valuable in the delivery of services to people and in understanding folks who are different from ourselves. So there have been a number of courses that I've taken that have helped me in the delivery of services or in the performance of my job right now from psychology. The ones that jump out to me are probably psychology of women, lifespan development, and most importantly maybe social psychology. So my PhD is actually in social psychology, and I find that the theories and the studies that I've reviewed in that area have been really helpful in working with students and working in higher education. Social psychology includes a lot of work on identity. It includes a lot of work on group dynamics and team building. It includes a lot of work on leadership. So all of those things I think I use on a daily basis in my interactions with students, faculty, staff, and administrators. So I say one of the most wonderful things about a degree in psychology is that the skills you develop are transferable to any number of fields or professions or industries. A focus on psychology is a focus on understanding human behavior, and unless you're going to be working in a closet or in a secluded office in a basement somewhere, you're going to engage with other people. So opportunities for advancement, opportunities to build community and work on a team, all of those things are skills that are developed through study in psychology. I think I mentioned it in a previous response that things like group dynamics, group processes, leadership, those kinds of things are areas where psychology has been focused on and has lengthy research and content devoted to those areas. Another value, I think, in someone who has a psychology degree, when they're entering into the field, they've taken courses in things like research methodology. They've read a number of journal articles focused on particular studies that have been done. And the skills, the critical thinking, the problem solving, the analysis skills that are developed through a psychology program are things that can be used in so many areas. If I'm hiring somebody, I want them to have a high level of skills with regard to communication, both written and oral, and that's something that is developed in psychology. But the problem solving and the critical thinking and being able to work as a team, all of those things are talents or skills that are cultivated through the study of psychology. Okay. So when you're thinking about a career path, one of the things that I like to think of is that there are 1,000 paths and 1,000,000 directions. So you might have a destination in mind, but there's not one way to get there. There are all different kinds of ways for you to get to that destination. So sometimes we'll think that the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, and sometimes that's true, right? It's true that the shortest distance may be a straight line, but that's not the only way to get between 2 points. So your path or your journey throughout higher education and even in your profession may not be a straight line from psychology to therapist with private practice. Like, it doesn't always necessarily work that way if that is your goal. What I would encourage you to do is to think about the kinds of things that you're passionate about. What are the issues in the society or in the community that you want to call attention to? What are the skills that you've cultivated that you feel like you can lean into and engage in a way where hopefully you can translate that into a kind of career? The days where people would commit to a career and be in that job for 40 years and then retire, those days are gone. You need to be more agile in the way that you approach your career. And that's the beauty of a degree in psychology, in fact, is because it develops these skills that are so flexible and so transferable to any area or industry. So if there's a thing you want to do, go do it until you don't want to do it anymore. And then go on to the next thing because you have the skills to do that.